Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the return of Inside NLC. I'm here with Austin Chafin, the man with the shiniest shoes in West Virginia. We're going to be taking a look at New Line Cagefighting, looking behind the curtain, and talking about some amazing fights.
This week we're going to be discussing NLC 8 and the Baileysville Brawl and be recapping on some of our most memorable moments between the two events. We're also going to be announcing Knockout of the Night, Submission of the Night, and Fight of the Night. And before it's all over, we're going to have a sit-down with American Ninja Warrior and Baileysville Brawl champion, Brennan Kelly.
After two absolutely action-packed events, we've got some amazing fights to cover. So without further ado, let's take a look inside NLC.
This is a man who's been here many times. Oh, ain't nobody got shoes like me in the game. You're in that fight, you can run with this.
All right, to get things started, we're going to recap the last two events, starting with New Line Cagefighting 8 in our return to Harts Creek. It's the second event we've had in Harts, and man, it didn't disappoint. Early in the night, we got to see the return of Keith No. He stepped in a professional boxing bout against William Myers. It's the first time Keith's competed in probably a decade. He couldn't look sharper. He came out right off the bat, landed a beautiful right hand, showed all kinds of confidence, hands low, throwing feints, and really he was just too much for William.
Absolutely. After William felt that power in the first round that dropped him, it was almost just like target practice, just beating up on the heavy bag down in the basement. I mean, William Myers felt the power. He didn't want any more, and that's why Keith ended up getting the TKO victory in the second round. I mean, just a beautiful performance and awesome to see a promoter come out and do the sport that he's promoting for other fighters.
Absolutely. Next up, we had Czar Parrish taking on Cole Ward. That was another super memorable fight. Czar came out, immediately started looking for the takedown, and landed it. Then he moved into the mount and he started working for that gift wrap position, which you don't see a lot, and it's a great ground and pound position. He goes for that gift wrap, passed the arm across, and once he trapped Cole there wasn't anything he could do. He made it out of the round somehow, and then the second round ended up in the same position again. Czar saw something there. He knew that Cole didn't have an answer for it, and he TKO'd him there from that gift wrap position, and it was absolutely brutal.
Absolutely.
Another big highlight of the card, our super heavyweight kickboxing champion, Michael Watts, steps into MMA against William Honaker out of Ronan. And Watts put on a clinic out there. He put on a striking clinic. He showed why he's the super heavyweight kickboxing champion. Really chopped Honaker down with low kicks, and then eventually took him out with a beautiful combination up against the cage.
Couldn't have got more clean from Mr. Watts.
Former training partner of Michael Watts, Chance Grillett, also shined that night. He came out and absolutely ran through a game opponent in Preston Starcher. Came out, got cracked by a big right hand right off the bat.
Yeah.
And you could see, I think right then he's like, all right, I got to get this where I want it. Clinched up, pulled guard, which you don't see a lot, in this game. You've got to have a lot of confidence to do that. And as soon as he pulled guard, he hit an absolutely picture-perfect armbar.
Yeah, couldn't have been more picture-perfect, just like you said. It's almost like when you're going into jiu-jitsu class as a white belt, and that's the simple thing that they teach, and they make it look so easy. I mean, it was definitely out of a video game moment, Elijah. Beautiful, couldn't have been done any better.
Now, another huge fight that night. Mikey the Viking Mitchell returned to boxing, and I was really excited about that one because I trained with Mikey, and he's an absolute murderer. It takes everything I can get to not to get knocked out by him every time we spar. But Mikey came out against Jared Burns and absolutely put on a show. He looked like he'd never been away and landed just an absolutely brutal knockout.
Yeah, the knockout, it was a three-punch combination. It started with the right, and then he came up left uppercut, and then he came back over with the right again. And I always talked about his speed, for being a guy his size. You think that he would be a little bit slower, but, man, he almost throws like a middleweight. But he's got the power of the weight class that he sits in, so he's super dangerous of where he's fighting right now. And I definitely look forward to seeing him make a championship run.
Now, in our main event of the evening, and we're skipping through a lot of fights. We saw a big win by Bobby Johnson. We saw a big win by Dustin Cooper. An absolutely amazing night of fights, but let's talk about that main event. Main event was a hugely anticipated fight between Denzel Chapman, the reigning champion, who tried to defend his title here against Jason Wilson, who it turned out was a game opponent. And we saw Denzel came out early and hurt Jason on the feet.
Yes.
Like badly. That first round was all Denzel.
Yeah.
He really put on a striking clinic there, and Jason didn't have much answer for it. It looked like it was going to be another early finish from Denzel.
Yeah.
But then the second round, Jason showed his grit, and he showed his wrestling skills. He came out, he landed that double leg on Denzel. Denzel went for the crucifix and eventually slid off of him, ended up on bottom. And once Jason was on top of him, Denzel couldn't get up. Jason has really beautiful top pressure. He drives you into the mat, and he gives you no space to get up. And that was kind of the story of the second round. Yeah. Then we moved on to the third in a fight that we knew it was probably 1-1 going into that.
Absolutely.
And so in that third round, you saw Denzel have success again on the feet, and he was landing some good shots. But midway through the round, the exact same position happened. Jason shot in. Denzel went for that crucifix but missed it, ended up on bottom, and spent the rest of the round there. So going into this decision, we didn't know where it was going to go.
I know.
It was such a close fight. Ended up being Jason Wilson as the new champion, and absolutely amazing fight. Totally lived up to the hype. Moving forward to the Baileysville Brawl, the very first two-night boxing tournament held by New Line, and it could not have been more amazing. Absolutely action-packed night of fights. Headlined by T.J. Hensley in his pro debut, and then the second night was headlined by Alex Davis defending his heavyweight title in his hometown. Let's talk a little bit about this card.
Elijah Thacker and Johan Johnson fight in a non-tournament bout. Johan Johnson ends up getting the decision victory over Elijah. It was one heck of a war. It was just a great way to start out this event.
Absolutely honored to be able to kick off that first tournament we've ever done. But the next fight that I really want to talk about is Tyler Molito versus Skyler Payne. That was the first heavyweight tournament bout we had, and it really delivered. Tyler Molito, WVU wrestler, coming into boxing pretty green, but got an absolutely devastating knockout. Hard one to forget. Absolutely beautiful debut by Tyler. Next up, we had Sam Priest in a tournament bout at bantamweight against Brittany Vaughn, and that was an absolute scrap too. A lot of people thought it could go either way, but Sam Priest pulled out the victory by decision, moved on to night two. Then we had Ethan Blackburn fighting Delano Reynolds, and that was an interesting one because they fought in the ring and then they fought outside the ring after the fight.
Absolutely. You know, it was a stoppage TKO that Blackburn got over Reynolds. Blackburn delivered a devastating knockdown, not one, but the second one was one to remember. And then after the fight, they said 3 rounds wasn't enough, and I think I'd give Blackburn round 4 as well. But moving on to Tyler Gerald and Chase Roberts. When you talk about Tyler Gerald, you're talking about a standout Ohio State football player that's coming into the boxing ring and absolutely mauled his way through his opponent, just like he did in football. Elijah, this was one that you just cannot forget.
Oh, my gosh. The word steamroller comes to mind when you think of Tyler Gerald. I mean, he just runs people over. He's a physical force, absolutely giant guy that has speed and power, and that's a deadly combination at heavyweight.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, after he ran through his opponent, he broke his hand, and we didn't get to see him in that second night. I'm sure we're going to be seeing him back at New Line, though, and he's got a very bright future.
Absolutely.
We also had the debut of Phillip Fox, who's the son of Billy Fox, who's longtime referee at New Line and absolutely legendary professional boxer back in his time. Fought Hector Camacho, who most people know is a world champion. So it was really exciting to see Billy pass the torch to his son. Phillip came in there and absolutely put on a show in his first fight, knocked his opponent out of the ring.
Yeah, said, you don't belong in the ring. Go cook me something to eat outside of the ring. I mean, it was just it was one of them performances where you seen skill level. You know, somebody was up here, somebody was down here, not degrading Cook at all, but definitely way more green than what we've seen Fox, and I'm excited to see what both guys do in the future.
Well, it was just a technical advantage that Fox had. You can tell he's really been working, and he's very sharp for a guy that's 18 years old right out of high school. Can't imagine what he's going to do in this sport.
You know, if he actually fought for New Line, I see him tearing up that division, you know, real quick. Great experience, led by a great coach and a great referee, his father.
Fox moved on to the second night of the tournament. We also saw in that division that night Brennan Kelly, who, American Ninja Warrior, he's a very unique individual, but, man, he can box. He's a freak athlete, and basically he's built for these 1-minute rounds, these tournament-style fights, because he's in such good shape he can put the gas on the entire fight. He does not stop. He comes forward in your face, landing shots the whole time, and most guys can't handle it. They're overwhelmed by him.
No, absolutely. Like you was saying, 1-minute rounds, you have to get up and get after it. You know, there's no time to, what you say, really box and pick a pace, and this guy's just built for it. I mean, he could have went 10 rounds if he wanted to. Just a freak athlete.
Now, that first night of the tournament, speaking of the heavyweights, we actually had Rick Randolph, the Beast, very big street beefs fighter that is very well known. He was supposed to make his debut at New Line in that first night of the tournament.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of a strange occurrence. His opponent saw him, and I guess he decided to get the heck out of there. So
I'd probably do the same thing, Elijah. This dude, the Beast, is the perfect nickname for this man. Absolute beast.
Well, man, his walkout was so eclectic and dynamic, and he walked out, and then we saw the officials start looking for his opponent, and he was nowhere to be found. So we saw Rick Randolph get his hand raised without even fighting that night. In the main event of the night, we had the hugely anticipated professional boxing debut of TJ Hensley. TJ is the leader of the Heathen Clan team. We saw them make a huge impact on this tournament with Tyler Gerald, Josh Bowling, Chandler Carver, all these guys going in there and really showing what they've got up in Ohio. And to end the night, TJ comes out, their fearless leader, and gets an absolutely blistering knockout in 17 seconds. Also moving on in night one was Eric Mon and Rob Mayernick, both at middleweight, and James Blankenship, who landed a beautiful knockdown and then went on to win a decision over Mark Dean at heavyweight. Night one was insane. We had some crazy fights. We had some memorable moments. And then we go right back at it the next day. Night two of Baileysville. The stakes are even higher. We've got the winners of all the first preliminary bouts coming in to try to take this gold. First off, we had a non-tournament bout between Logan Shuck and Hunter Bailey. This was for the bantamweight kickboxing title. And, man, I have rarely ever seen a more closely contested fight.
Absolutely. These guys went to war, you know. I believe the second round is when Shuck really started to turn it on to his opponent. But as far as the judges go, I wouldn't want to be him in this situation.
Well, Shuck's a notoriously slow starter. I think we've known that by now. We've seen him fight a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, he got more comfortable in there, and he started really finding his range in the second and the third. But Bailey, he's a newcomer to New Line. He's from Monk's Corner. He fights with Ricky Lacadu and those guys. And, man, they were all impressive. Ricky Lacadu, we should talk about his knockout, too. He landed a beautiful knockout that night. But Shuck and Bailey, they just went to war. It was such a close fight, and then the judges read the decision for Logan Shuck, but they were mistaken. And after Shuck took the belt, was backstage, put the belt on, they came and they told him that they'd made a mistake and ended up taking the belt and giving it to Bailey. So after that controversy, I'm sure we might see those two again.
No, we definitely got to see a rematch. I mean, even if Shuck didn't win the fight, I think it's owed for both men to have a proper ceremony in the ring when the winner is introduced. So I definitely look forward to seeing them two going back at it again, possibly at New Line 9.
Now let's talk about our first finals match in this tournament. We had Sam Priest, who took on Jacob Ray. Jacob Ray's our sitting 135 champion at New Line. He's coming off another big tournament win a couple months ago at a Tough Man. And so he was kind of the favorite going into this tournament. He'd had a victory over Brittany Vaughn, who Priest beat in the preliminary match. And now these two favorites faced off in the finals, and, man, it didn't disappoint. Jacob Ray put on a clinic. This is one of the best fights I've ever seen him in. He looked very sharp.
This was definitely the best fight that we've seen Jacob fought. I mean, he come in against a very experienced opponent, an older opponent, we should say, back in his heyday, very, very dangerous. And for Jacob to go up against someone like that and not fall victim to some of the old head tricks and stuff that you could do in the ring was just amazing. Jacob put on a clinic and ended up winning by decision and added another piece of gold to the shelf.
Now, in our middleweight tournament final match, we had Rob Marinick take on Derek Estep, who was a hometown favorite. That crowd was going insane, but Marinick didn't let it shake him. He came in there. Marinick has almost that peekaboo style. He's going in, he's dipping and rolling
Reminds me
under
of Tyson
shots.
a lot.
Absolutely beautiful performance by Marinick. In the third round there, he landed a controversial knockdown. I think a lot of the crowd saw it as a slip.
Yeah.
But I think that really swayed the judges there at the end because it was a close fight. It really was, back and forth. E-Step threw a lot of straight punches compared to Marinick's, rolling, looping style. In our heavyweight tournament finals, we had Rick Randolph, the Beast, the Baby Shark, coming up against Tyler Molito, West Virginia standout wrestler. And that fight didn't disappoint either. Randolph had a huge experience advantage as a striker.
Absolutely.
He's been doing this a very long time. And it showed, and he was comfortable in there, landed the bigger shots, landed the cleaner shots. But Molito was so game. I think that's what made that fight interesting. Even though he's green, he's got that combat sports background, and you can see the toughness of that guy. Like he ate every shot the Beast threw at him and kept coming. And at the end, he showed such sportsmanship and class. It was just a fan favorite fight because both those guys they have such big personalities. They're both incredibly tough and skilled. It couldn't have been a better finale for our heavyweight tournament. We have one more tournament final bout to talk about. This was one of the biggest barn burners of that two-night tournament.
Oh, yeah.
We had Brennan Kelly, American Ninja Warrior, up against the prodigy, Phillip Fox, son of Billy Fox. And, oh, my God, these two went to war.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger word that you could say for that. You have someone that's up and coming, 18 years old, with a great background of boxing come from his father versus someone that is just so well in shape and such a freak athlete.
And a consummate competitor. Kelly, if anything, once you talk to the guy, he's a competitor. In any sport, he's going to try to win, and he's got a lot of dog in him. That's the thing. And I think that's what won the fight for him. He just kept after Fox. He didn't give Fox space to box. He just stayed on him the whole time, didn't give him a chance to breathe, and made it a gritty fight. Yeah. That's what won Kelly this bout.
Yeah, like we was talking about earlier, you got 3 1-minute rounds. This dude's built for it. He didn't let Fox go in there and traditionally box, and just because of his aggressiveness and output, I believe that's what gave him the victory, Elijah.
Absolutely. Now we'll move on to our main event of the night. We had Josh Bowling coming into Alex Davis's hometown and trying to take his belt. And there was a lot of speculation about this fight. There was a lot of people wondering if Bowling was going to be too technical for Alex early on. We knew Bowling might have some cardio issues. We thought Alex would try to drag him into deep water, but we couldn't have been more wrong. This fight ended early, and it ended viciously. Both guys came out hungry. Alex came out calm like always, and even though Josh had his moments in the first few seconds, Alex found a home for a beautiful uppercut that absolutely took the legs out from under Josh. And once he dropped, he couldn't get back up, could not beat that count. And Alex Davis walks away with the belt around his waist in his hometown.
Yeah, what a story to tell. You have a guy that everyone says this is a more technical boxer, this is the faster boxer, this is the better boxer, coming into your hometown trying to take away your belt, and then for Alex come in here and say, let me shut everyone up real quick, gives a beautiful uppercut like you was saying, not one but two, but that last one put the split right up to the nose on Bowling. And Bowling just didn't have an answer. I mean, he couldn't get his legs back up under him. And before you know it, we seen for the first time Alex Davis show emotion. When Josh Bowling hit the floor, you seen Alex raise his hand. He was pumping. And then when he seen that Josh didn't beat the count, I thought the dude could have jumped 10 foot up in the air and dunked a basketball, you know. So definitely this was a fight for Alex that he took personal, that he was looking forward to, and we seen it within not only his skill set but his emotions that night.
Well, that's the thing. You know, we talk about this event in his hometown in Baileysville. I don't think that we stressed enough the environment that was.
No.
That was the loudest crowd I've ever seen. That place, the echo and the sound, like they had the walls shaking.
Yes. Yes, they did.
And most of those people were there to see Alex defend that title.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you have been waiting for, it is our post-fight fighter awards. We're going to be announcing knockout of the night, submission of the night, and fight of the night. We're going to kick it off with New Line Cage Fighting number 8. So, first off, we're going to give submission of the night to
Chance Grillett versus Preston Starcher. I think that one was a no-brainer. Absolutely beautiful display of jiu-jitsu. Picture-perfect armbar by Chance.
Absolutely.
Now, knockout of the night. I think that it's got to go to Mikey the Viking Mitchell.
Absolutely.
With that absolutely thunderous stoppage of Jared Burns.
Absolutely. Now, to finish up NLC 8, fight of the night is no other than
Denzel Chapman versus Jason Wilson. We had a lot of great fights that night, but as far as the one that had the most impact, it had to be that one for the lightweight title, razor-thin decision. Both guys had their moments, but, man, it was a hell of a scrap. Now, moving on to Baileysville, we'll start it off with knockout of the night. It's got to be Phillip Fox versus Cook. Knocked him out of the ring.
Absolutely. One of the most brutal finishes I've seen in the sport. The guy was literally falling out of the ring. I think that was a no-brainer to give it to him.
Fight of the night for Baileysville has to be Brennan Kelly versus Phillip Fox.
Absolutely. Listen, these guys scrapped it out throughout all 3 rounds. You had 2 guys that was very technical, very in shape, very sharp, and I've never been in an atmosphere like that, Elijah, where you had the fans standing on their feet at the end of the fight, chants being made. I mean, people just kicking the bleachers. You couldn't even hear in the headphones when we was commentating. It's a no-brainer. It's fight of the night.
And it was really interesting to see Brennan Kelly get a chance there to play the heel. The crowd wasn't happy that he got that decision, and he played it up. He enjoyed that moment.
Absolutely.
This next segment we like to call the rundown. We've got 10 hot topics, 30 seconds to break each one down. So let's put 30 seconds on the clock and get started.
All righty. 3, 2, 1.
Alex Davis, the Rhino, coming off a huge win, defending his title in his hometown. Now he's talking about turning pro. How do you feel about that?
I have mixed emotions, Elijah. You know, he's been an absolute tear in the amateur world, but amateur and pro is 2 different levels. But it seems like everybody's starting to turn pro now, but Alex is very serious about his craft, but only been training for about 2 to 3 months. He's still a little bit green.
Well, I think the thing about Alex is when he first told me he was thinking about turning pro after my first New Line event, I thought that's a little bit crazy. It's a little soon, but we've seen him evolve every fight. And this point, when he told me that, I thought, you know what, maybe it is time.
All right, the lightweight division and the future of it. What do you got to think about it?
Well, we just had that huge title fight between Denzel Chapman and Jason Wilson, ended in a very close decision. You got to think that maybe these guys are going to see each other down the road, but right now we've got Devin Stanley waiting in the wings. We've got all kinds of hungry guys looking for that title, and Jason's going to have to defend it.
Well, speaking of rematches, onto the topic of rematches, I definitely think it's owed to for the sport, to the fans, and to everyone that Jason Wilson and Denzel Chapman goes at it again. We've seen Denzel have a dominant performance on the stand-up side, and then you had Jason have a dominant performance on the ground. You know, when it went to the judges, we really didn't know what way it was going to go. Denzel loses his title. I think we need a rematch here.
Absolutely, and also Logan Shuck versus Hunter Bailey, super controversial decision, controversial ending. Man, you got to think they're going to run it back again as well.
Absolutely. Now, best walkouts we've seen so far in NLC. What comes to your mind, Elijah?
Baby Shark, Rick Randolph at the Baileysville event. That was one of the coolest moments I've ever seen at any event live.
Absolutely. Jerking kids out of the crowd and getting him to walk out with him while playing Baby Shark. No one does that. Now, he seems childish when he's coming into the ring, but a vicious man when he's inside of it.
Oh, absolutely. One of the nicest guys in the world until he steps in there, and then he's very scary.
Absolutely. Now, we talk about dominant teams. Who is the top-tier team you think of when you're talking here in West Virginia?
Well, there's so many. You know, you got to mention Ground Zero. They're there in Morgantown and Huntington. They've always got solid guys. Denzel used to fight out of there. You know, Eli Hawkins, Luke Lago, Czar Parrish. All these guys coming off good wins recently. But then you got Ryoma Academy in Maryland. Those guys are awesome. You have Butch Hiles in Charleston, one of the first black belts in West Virginia history. You got the Underdog Fight Academy with my crew of misfits. There's just so many good places to train. You got Silverback, a new gym with Alex Davis and Chris Blankenship. Man, there's just... You know, the sport's growing and growing in West Virginia. Next up, we're going to sit down with a very special guest. We've got Brennan Kelly, American Ninja Warrior and champion of the Baileysville Brawl. Brennan's a really interesting character, mustache aficionado, lifelong competitor, collegiate athlete, really just a fascinating guy to talk to, and it was an honor to sit down with him.
Absolutely, and we got the interview video right here for you guys. Enjoy.
We're here with Inside NLC, and we're talking to Brennan Kelly, who was our big champion at our last tournament in Baileysville. How you doing today, Brendan?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Probably the man with the most impressive mustache I've ever seen. So
I appreciate it. It's always good to see a fellow mustacher, you know. So it's cool. It's always fun to. It's rare that you see anybody with it and stuff. So I'll have to bring you some of my wax next time. Try some stuff.
I would love that, especially if it makes my mustache as impressive as yours. Like,
well, that's how you shape stuff. Like, so it just takes time.
So walk us through your win in Baileysville. Walk us through that tournament. What was it like?
Okay. It was actually pretty good. It was more skilled than I was expecting. I fought in a tough man in Huntington, and both my guys I fought in your all's tournament were better than all three that I fought in the tough man to win it and stuff. So after fighting one tough man, though, you kind of learn like what you got to do to assure that you win a championship and stuff. And I won my tough man and stuff, but you learn like, oh, hey, I probably shouldn't have gone as hard in the first fight, you know. Just make sure, you know, get the dub. So first fight I came in and I was like, hey, I knew the guy had an MMA background and stuff. So, or wrestling. I knew that for sure. So I was like, this guy probably isn't the best striker as yet. So I said, I'm gonna be fast. I'm just gonna outstrike him. And I was like, I don't have to knock this guy out. I was like, this guy's 156, 159, and he had to lose weight to get in it. And stuff like before, and I'm like, this guy's neck's thick. It's gonna have a hard time knocking him out. I don't need to brawl this dude. This guy's got a shot if we brawl, you know. So I was like, I'm just gonna beat him with speed. So that's all I did, ones, 1-2s, and I was like, well, I don't want to show anything either for the next one. So got that one done. It was a good fight. The guy got me a couple times and stuff, and he main thing as well, when someone's trying to learn something, you don't let him learn it on you. Like I knew he was in there to try to learn to strike and learn to. I'm just gonna I'm gonna pressure you the whole time. You don't learn that way. Everyone wants to have their comfort zone, you know. And if you get in their comfort zone, they're not going to be able to execute what they've been practicing because they haven't practiced out of their comfort zone most of the time. So that's why you put the pressure on. Then fight 2, I knew I didn't learn much from his fight because it didn't last long the night before. So I knew he was good. I mean, Billy Fox's son. So I was like, oh, this guy's going to be decent. And then all the crowd, it was fun because I like got to be the villain for a little. I mean, like they made me the villain without doing anything, but it was pretty funny. So like, that was like the first time I've ever been booed at an arena, so it was really funny. And then everyone cheers on it. Yeah, rewatching the video, I get a good crack up of it. And then like right before the fight, my cornerman's like, "Hey, you hear that?" He's like, "You can't leave this to the judges. If it's too close, it's going to him." I was like, all right. So came out, and I think I got a little too I know for a fact I just got too excited because my punches got way too wide. Usually a lot straighter and more crisp. But I usually am still crazy, but not as like wide. But rewatching and stuff, like when I fight it, I don't really remember much other than like, hey, I'm doing my movements or whatever. And I mean, like I know when I get hit and stuff, and I didn't really get hit that much in that fight because my duck game was a lot better than normal. I would just get anytime I missed, I'd just get my face by his belly, and then he couldn't do anything, and I'd step back out, or I'd come up with a left hook. And afterwards, I talked to Billy and stuff, and he's like, and that's why I pressure everyone still. Like in the 150 and under, I say, hey, I'm the biggest, strongest guy. You're all gonna fight my way. Like I'm not gonna let I'm not gonna let people box me. If you want to box me, have fun with that because I'm gonna pressure you the whole time. They can't hit. Most people under 150 aren't gonna hit anywhere near as hard as me, and so and I can take their punches. There's a couple of videos that Phillip has slowed down on his Facebook where he hits me pretty good and sharp, and like you watch one where he rears all the back, he's like, and like nails me straight in the face, and I go, psh, and then like I just come straight in. So it's like I'm having fun with it all now and stuff, just trying to be like, I finally get to compete against people my weight and my size and stuff. Playing football and running track in college and stuff, like high level and stuff. It's always like I'm shaking people's hands at like the end. I'm like, hey, good game. Like so I was having fun with it all.
So I was kind of curious as to how you got started on this path. I guess you've been a lifelong athlete then, haven't you?
Yeah. So I mean, I was a 4-time collegiate All-American in football and track and field in the half mile. So I kind of how I started out the sports world, and then my sophomore year of college, I lost an entire muscle in my leg, and they told me I'd never be able to play sports again. And came back in a month and a half, and then I ran my first track race, and then became All-American after that. And then that's how I got on Ninja Warrior because of my comeback. And then my first time on Ninja Warrior, I made it all the way to the finals in Vegas. That's how I kept getting on to go on that. But the fight thing started happening because I invested all my money that I had into starting my own Ninja Warrior gym, which was easily a great idea, blah, blah, blah. I had it all set up. I was making my fixed costs before I even opened. And then my goal open date was March 2020. And that's when the world shut down or whatever and stuff. So first 3 months didn't make any money and stuff. And then I'm about to lose everything I had, stuff like facing bankruptcies. And so I just started fighting. And so, now I worked my name up in Barstool. So like when I win the big fights and championship fights, I don't fight any more than 3 minutes, and I get at least 5,000. So it's been fun because I've literally had to fight to keep my dreams alive. And then I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm good at it. And there's nothing. So my whole thing is like, I'm old school in the mindset kind of deal, like very, primal. I have great joy in having the same exact goal as someone that is right across the corner and then beating the living shit out of them. You know, it's just a dominance factor and stuff. And that's my whole point. And when I get like, everyone can come there to box me, that's fine. You should prepare for war. You know, because that's every fight I will ever be in. It's not going to be. There will not be more than a blank of 5 seconds ever. Yeah.
So you talk about being a man who's fighting for a dream. Why don't you tell everybody about that dream a little more? I know you showed me, some footage of your gym when we met, and I loved it. Like, you're doing some awesome work there for the community.
Yeah. So, my dream in life is my main goal in life is to get myself to a spot to where I can have a family of my own and invest my entire time into making them the best of the version of themselves and stuff, and just enjoy life. So I'm trying to right now build that financial security and stuff of I had the idea, I have the accolades I need now, I have the skills and stuff, and so most people won't take the jump in life. I'm sure you've seen the memes now. It's like $1,000 to start a business. No, too expensive. $1,000 for a new iPhone. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. Well, it's scary, and if you lose it, you lose the money and stuff. Like, but I'd rather take my chances and fail than always be stuck in a position. Like I didn't like my jobs and stuff. Like, I wasn't enjoying life. So I just said, all right, well, I'm definitely not made for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my own thing. And so I just did it. Took all the money I had and put a down payment on my building that I am leasing. And then I had my first 3 months was supposed to be free, to allow you to move in and set things up. So did it all, built my whole gym in like a month and a half and stuff. Just worked 12-hour days every day plus, and then got it going. I was going inside schools and stuff, doing motivational speaking, bring my Ninja Warrior stuff. That's why I like break my world records and stuff too, because that it all plays together. So like the more I do, the more successful I am. Adds to the just go get it mentality. I've been overlooked. I was overlooked my whole entire life. I'm not anymore, but that's the reason I am who I am today, because I realized it doesn't matter what anybody else says about me. I can do whatever I want as long as I'm willing to put in the work that is required to get there. That's the thing, is a lot of people they'll say they want it, but then they won't put in the work that is truly required. They'll say they worked hard, because they got tired, but getting tired doesn't equal hard work. It's how hard you work after you get tired. How much time do you have left in you when your mind says no? How many reps do you have left in your body says no? Stuff like that. That's where the true hard work is determined and stuff. And that's why in the fight world, if you make your practices and stuff harder than your fights, fighting's not as hard. You don't get into that daze zone and stuff, and you can tell which fighters are prepared and which ones aren't. Everyone can have a great first round. Everyone can look good in the first round. It's the second rounds that matter. You didn't knock that person out and you gas yourself out. Here you go. Here you shine.
I feel triggered.
Okay. Well,
I feel triggered. You saw my fight.
Well, yeah, but that was the thing, is I thought you had more endurance than he did the whole fight.
Oh, I felt like I was going to die, Brendan.
Oh,
I really did.
I could tell. But that was the thing, is I could tell you were you in the middle of the second, I could tell you were completely gassed, but you had the press forward mentality still. That's the thing, is if you completely gassed and you still press forward, that's something. There's a lot of people that are gassed and they're always on the back. Those are the ones that get knocked out, and stuff. But yeah.
What's that inner voice? Everything in me is dude, just give up. It's okay, just give up.
Oh, yeah.
You don't listen to it. That's all it is.
Yep, you got to break through that wall. That's the whole thing, and that's where practice does come in. If you don't practice much or whatever, or if you never get to that point, then it goes to Mike Tyson saying everyone's got a plan until you get freaking rocked or something. Yeah.
To one more question to wrap things up. Talk to us a little bit about Fox, your opponent, that was a very technical boxer, but had good speed as well. And you guys was just exchanging back and forth and back and forth. Was you, and now keep in mind, we're still only fighting 3 1-minute rounds. I know it's a short time, but from your first fight the night before and then facing Fox, was you ever in that mode of I got to push, I'm in deep water here and I have to swim? Did you ever feel that way at all in that fight?
No. So that was we realized from this past weekend that my training these past couple months have been super beneficial. Like in past fights, I've realized the first thing that goes on me is my legs, because I'm so explosive in and out and stuff. And I just realized that was what was draining me so bad. So I've been training those for speed endurance and training my lactic acid threshold for them and just trying to max them out. So I felt good. I never got to the point that I've gotten before in fights, in either of my fights this past weekend. And I pressed pretty hard in both of them. I felt like at the end, I could have pushed a little harder if I wanted to, but I felt like I had it off of in the third, when I threw him in the corner and just held him there for a good, about 5-10 seconds and stuff in the middle of the third and stuff. I felt
it's actually,
I knew I won one of the first two, and I felt like I was winning the third. And so I didn't have to go all in, because that's the thing is, if you go all into, you leave yourself a good shot to get pieced.
well, there were moments in that fight. I remember that fight really well. I loved the fight. It was one of the best I've seen in a long time.
But great.
You slowed down. And I thought those moments when you did slow down, you looked more technical. Like you were it was there a few moments when you started popping that jab and really just slowed down and got technical. Like you looked really sharp. But I think that your biggest asset too is you're in such damn good shape that you can go full throttle the whole time. In a 1-minute round fight, you're built for that. You can put your foot on the gas and just go the whole fight.
I agree with you there. That's what kind of my whole thing is right now, is trying to just say hey, I'm the best at the 3 1-minute round game, period. And if it can keep making me good fights every couple months where I make money and stuff like that, I mean, why not? Got Barstool's pretty big and stuff with it. And the more I put on a show, better chance I got to make something out of it, get my chance to fight a celebrity or something like that. Cause, my boy fought Pac-Man Jones and he won and stuff. But yeah, back to Phillip Fox being technical and stuff. He was significant. He was probably one of the more technical fighters I had to fight. And I didn't realize it as you're fighting them until you realize what you get caught by afterwards and stuff. Him, every time I would he would get his block up coming and then coming right back with it and stuff. So you could tell his dad taught him some good stuff and everything like that. He had a very good roll game with his blocks and stuff. That's where me getting low, I feel really threw him off, because I feel like if he would have faced someone that more people are going to kind of just stay in and move left to right with it. But I was getting so low on my dips and coming up back all the way around. And I think that's what got him. And when I was talking to his dad afterwards and stuff, he was saying when I got in close, I was just too strong for him at that point and stuff. And that's where I had to make it too. And so that's why I'd stay outside for a little bit, but I ultimately wanted to come in and tire him out too. But I knew my strength was going to be more than his and stuff. So it's just playing to your strengths and stuff. And even that's what my corner man was telling me too, my biggest thing out of it was, and that's why I wanted to get in the ring this past weekend, because I have big fights coming up and stuff, was to get the rust off me. I kept my right hand way too low, way too much. I got too comfortable, way too many of my punches, because I got too excited, were thrown way too wide, didn't keep my elbow in tight when I was throwing them and stuff like that. So when you can get wins and take something positive out of it in the sense of like, hey, I can get better. You know, hey, I beat two good guys. Both my opponents weren't bad at all, and stuff. So I beat two decent dudes, and learned. So it was a successful weekend and got a belt out of it and stuff. So all in all, it was a pretty fun time.
And before we say goodbye, I guess we'll talk about what's next for you. You told me you're going after all the belts. So you got Rough and Rowdy coming up soon, going after that belt. And you're coming back to New Line. You're going to go after our title. I even saw you were in a bodybuilding competition. You won that too. You're just going after every title you can, aren't you?
Exactly. So ultimate goal is better than yesterday. So I got a mission here, and I'm just going to go out and just dominate as long as I can. So, I got those belts you mentioned. I won my bodybuilding competition, first bodybuilding competition I entered it like a month ago. Worked with opposing coach like 5 times and just got out there and flexed, you know. So it was a fun little time though. I had to do all natural one, of course. There's no way I could win any of the roided ones. Those dudes are huge. No, it was a fun time. Everyone in it's really cool people and stuff. They all worked their ass off to get where they are. The only reason I was able to do it is because I worked my ass off working out to get in shape for other stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then I'm going to win the King of Mountain State tournament too. And that one's a really cool belt. Out of the belts, like there's a couple. So like out of like physical belts, the King of the Mountain State's pretty bad, awesome. Like it's like a true ABA belt, like the same ones that ABA guys get when they win in the championship and stuff. So pretty excited about that one. Then getting your alls, getting another good red, white, and blue one, and some gold to match. Like those match my shorts perfect. And then winning big old Rough and Rowdy in front of 5,000-10,000 people in the stands and a couple, a million watching on TV. So should be a good 2 months.
Well, we expect big things in the future from you. And it was a pleasure talking to you, Brendan.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, guys.
That's been another edition of Inside NLC. We covered Baileysville. We covered New Line 8. We talked to Brennan Kelly. We counted down our top 5 favorite moments from both events.
Absolutely, and if you want to see more content next week exclusively on our YouTube channel, New Line Cagefighting, so make sure you like and subscribe and share on all social media platforms to catch new editions exclusively of Inside NLC. It's been an honor for you guys having us. We hope you enjoyed, and until next time.